Okay, so in this session, we're going to talk about your nonprofit's advantage. So what we're going to do is once you have signed up for Google for Nonprofits, what do you get? And we're going to take a look at some of the tools and services available to you that some of them are documented. Like if you use Google Gemini, they will tell you, here's all the different things that we have. But there's a number of things that aren't listed anywhere. So some of these are things that I've discovered over time, and I'm constantly finding new stuff because they make changes and whatever. So that's hopefully what we're going to do. There is a handout, so if you want to scan the QR code or use that link down there, it's bit.ly, so bit.ly/nonprofitadv. I didn't want to put out nonprofit advantage because that would just make it too long. So nonprofit ADV, and that will take you to a document with links to everything that we're going to be talking about today. Get this over here. And so if you've tuning in for the first time, my name is Trevor Beck. I am a former Google Apps for Education certified trainer and innovator. I used to work at a university in Canada. I'm living here in Madeira, Portugal right now. And my joy in life is to basically show people how to take advantage of these Google tools. If you want more information about me or to contact me, there's my website, trevorbeck.ca. I really recommend taking a look at my YouTube channel. I've posted a lot of videos there on taking advantage of the Google tools, Microsoft tools. I'm an Apple guy, so you'll find all sorts of stuff in there. If I go too fast, please let me know. Just come and unmute yourself and just say, hey, Trevor, you're talking too fast. Can you slow things down? And I will do that. I tend to get excited because it's been a while. So that's one of the dangers of this. Okay, so if you haven't signed up for it yet, Google for Nonprofits at google.com/nonprofits will explain to you what they do. The Google for Nonprofits service is basically a package of 4 different tools. Google Workspace, which is our day-to-day Google Doc sheets and slides and stuff. Google Ad Grants, which is basically the advertising component of Google. We have Google Maps and Google YouTube. You guys already have access to a lot of these tools. When you sign up with your nonprofit account, if your organization is certifiable, then you get extra features. And one of the big extra features I'm constantly telling people about is that with Google AdWords, you get $10,000 American per month in AdWords advertising. So that's to advertise your organization, your events, whatever you want to do. So go to Google Nonprofits, find out some more information. There is effort that you have to put in every month on taking advantage of those AdWords. But that's kind of what Google says is like, we'll give you this money for free, but we want you to do something with it. Don't just let it sit there. So today we're going to focus on Google Workspace. So these are the doc sheet, slides, drive, calendar, all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to show you all these kind of cool features and stuff and how you can take advantage of them. So once you sign up with your Google for Nonprofit account, there's some core benefits that come to you. And the first thing is the centralized administration. And what that means is you basically get a control panel where you can go in and control the access and to people, to apps, all sorts of things. You're in charge. When you're using your personal Gmail account, basically Google's in charge. So if you need to reset your password, if you need to try and get access to an app or something like that, you have to try and contact Google. This way, when it's all centralized, you have someone that's basically doing the role of IT in your organization that can do that. So they can go in and, they can reset a password. They can give access to documents or to whatever apps they want. They're in charge of the security. They get reports about incursions or, attempted scams and stuff. So there's a lot of power that Google gives to your organization to take control of stuff. Come on, click to the next one. Whoops, I went too fast. Let's try this. Enhanced security means that things like spam and phishing controls that you get in your personal Gmail account are actually even or even stronger in your accounts than it would be for your basic Gmail accounts. When we talk about data ownership, I mean, the big thing here is shared drives. A shared drive is more than a folder. A shared drive is a space that when anyone drops files in there, the ownership goes to the organization. So it doesn't matter who creates the file, the organization owns it. When you're using a shared folder, I could own the folder, someone else drops something in, they're still the owner. And we'll talk a bit more about that and some of the implications that go along with that. Secure cloud storage. Well, I mean, the nice thing about using these tools is we're getting away from attaching files to emails and sending those out. Everyone links to the file that's stored in the cloud. So we only have one file to worry about. Don't have to worry about who's got the latest version or something because we have one file to deal with. And lastly, for me, one of the biggest things is with the Google Workspace support, you get more than your Gmail account. So you get a free service with Gmail. If you have a problem, Google says, hey, here's our help center, go search some web pages. As a nonprofit who basically is getting the same services that a paid organization would or a business would, you also get support through email, through live chat, through phone calls. Those are not available to you through your personal account. All right, so let's go and take a look at the stuff that we're going to be doing here on our documents. So this is that link I sent you earlier. So your nonprofit advantage, explore exclusive workspace features. So it's everything that we've talked about today or are going to talk about today. There's the link to the slides, or sorry, to this document. And we just went through the core workspace values and stuff, and we looked at that. Let me just briefly talk about the admin dashboard. I'm not going to show it to you here. This is more for the IT person that's going to be responsible within your organization. They can add and remove users. They can control access to different services. So there's a whole whack of different apps out there, AdWords, Blogger, Google Chat, et cetera, et cetera. You can control who gets access to what. So if I have volunteers that I'm onboarding, or maybe someone that's coming in for a summer program, I want them to have access to the core stuff, but I don't want someone that's only going to be there for 2 months to have access to AdWords. There's no reason that they should be doing advertising. That should only be, your ad agency or your ad group that's looking after that. Maybe the same thing with Blogger. So you can create different groups and say, okay, this group has access to these 12 apps. This group has access to these 5, because that's all we want. So you can take control of that and make sure that things are happening the way you want. There's also different features available with a lot of these apps. So for example, in calendars, you're probably familiar with how you can create another calendar. So when you first start with your calendar, you have your calendar, but then you could create a new calendar called Events for the Year and share that with a group of people. I believe by default, that service is internal only. So when you create a second calendar, it's not available to the public. If you're working with a group of volunteers, they're not going to have accounts in your organization. They're going to be using their personal Google accounts or Gmail accounts. So they would not normally get access to those external calendars. It's something that has to get turned on. And there's a number of different features and stuff available. As an IT admin person, they would go through and working with your organization, decide, yes, this is good for everyone to have, or no, this is not. I should mention too, as we're going through, if you've got a question, by all means, just turn off the mute, come on, ask your question, and then if you can, turn your mute back on just so we don't have phones ringing in the background and stuff. So let's talk about Gmail. One of the biggest advantages that you get when you move to these nonprofit accounts is you get larger storage space. So before you had 15 gigs with your personal account, you get double that here. So you have 30 gigabytes of storage. That includes your Google Docs files stored in Google Drive, as well as your email and stuff. But you get 30 gigs, and that is a lot. You also get your custom domain emails. You don't have to do, as for example, mymadeiraisland@gmail.com. Instead, you have Trevor@mymadeira.com, Bob@mymadeira.com. So you get to have those personalized organizational domain emails, which are a lot more professional than @gmail.com. You can also create aliases. So rather than putting a person's name in there, you can put in a position. So for example, you see there, it says info at or mymadeira.com, or maybe it's president at or vice president at. I recommend doing those kind of things with some of the nonprofits because those positions turn around all the time. Like every 2 years, there's a new president, there's a new vice president, and swapping names in and out, going to the website to update it is just a pain. So instead, we create president at and vice president at, and then it's easy to reassign those accounts to new people as they come in. So those kind of things are done at the admin level, at that dashboard level. But some of the things that are available to you at your level are layouts and mail merge. So I'm just going to pull up an email here. I'm going to go and compose an email. This looks pretty much the same, but down in the bottom right here, you'll see something, and it says select a layout. Well, instead of just doing a static page of text, you can actually have these designs available to you. So if I wanted to, let's say I'm sending out a newsletter, I don't necessarily have to use what is it? Monkey. It's been so long since I've done all that stuff. MailChimp, that's it. I can do it directly from here in Gmail. Sorry, yeah, in my Google Mail. And I just have to double click on it. And now it says, okay, here's your layout. You can go in and make changes. Maybe I don't like that as bold. I'm not a big bold fan. I figure if it's already big, why do I need it bold? But I can go customize it, change the graphic out, et cetera, et cetera. And then we're going to insert this into our email message. Before we do that, take a look on the side. There's also different kinds of pieces of text, or sorry, pieces of information that I can post in that message. So if I want a layout of a picture and graphic, like, you know, there's picture and graphic on top and bottom, but maybe I want something side to side, I can just click on that and there it is side to side. And I can design it fairly simply before I post it in. I can even go into here and preview it to see what it's going to look like on a computer, on a tablet, or on a mobile phone. Once I've finished my design, I can insert it, and when I just hit send and away it goes. You can also custom design your own, because there's my layout. I'm going to go into here and hit announcements. It's green. I maybe do some other design elements in there, and then I can create and save my own layout that I'm going to be constantly reusing. So that's what you would do to get rid of the logo up here and stuff like that. You would create that template and make that and make that available for sending off emails. So that's cool. So we got a way to make our stuff look prettier, as I like to say. The other function that's available to you is called mail merge. So we've all seen those letters, Dear John, Dear Paul, Dear Sam, and it uses your information that Google has about you to do that. Well, when you go look at your to field, normally I would type in the person's name. In this case, there's Jazz. And maybe I've got 100 people, so I would have to manually put in 100 people. But all it's going to do is send a message. It's not going to be customized at all. But there's this extra icon here called merge, mail merge. So what it's going to do, and there's more information about it if you go into the thing here, it talks you about all the different fields that you can put in. But when I'm doing that, whoops, let me try this again, mail merge. When I put in Jazz's name, I can then go in and say something like, hey, and then it's got these little tags that it uses. So first, whoops, try spelling it right, name, first name, hey, first name, hey, last name, hey, whatever. I can customize my message. Now, when I do it this way, this information here, Jazz here, is actually stored in Google Contacts. So I've got names for that. So this might be great for an internal newsletter or something like that. I already have all these people inside my address book. However, I don't necessarily, if I've got volunteers just for one event, I don't necessarily want to be able to go and put all those people in my address book because I'll never see them again. What I can do, though, is I can also add from a spreadsheet. So all that information is stored somewhere in a Google Sheet, and it does the same thing. It looks for the first name, the last name, and it goes through, and you can customize your messaging that way. So that's a nice, easy way to send those up. So that's two different features that are available to you that aren't available to your personal account. So click on the links there for more information about that. I've got some general resources there on how to for Gmail and how to set up Workspace email guide. Any questions on that so far? I'm just going to pop over to my window here. I don't see anything. I'm just going to look in the chat here. Nope, nothing in the chat. Perfect. Let's move on. Google Groups for Business is the unsung hero of all the Google apps that are available to you. Okay. Google Groups basically is a mailing list, or what we used to call in the old days a listserv. I send an email out to one email address. It automatically gets sent out to 30 or 40 or 50 other people. So it's a mailing list. There are extra levels of functionality that you can use these Google Groups. So discussion forums, shared inboxes, projects and stuff that you can do. So if you've got a number of projects or volunteer groups, it's in your interest to create a Google group rather than trying to manually manage all that information as separate entities. So for example, used to be in the old days, we had create a board of governors. There might be 10 people on our board. You'd have to communicate that to all the members and say, if you want to send an email message out to everyone, you've got to send it out to these 10 people. 6 months later, 2 people leave. We had 2 new people in. Hey guys, you need to redo all your groups in your Outlook or in your whatever app you're using and add all the names in there again. What Groups does is it says, you know what, let me look after it. Google says, I'll take a look at that. So I'm going to go into groups.google.com and I've created a group here called Test. And when I go into the test, I'm going to show you, I've added all these people here, all these people being Trevor's personal account and Jazz, my dog. But assume there's 100 names in there. Well, when you create this, remember that email that went with it to begin with? Let me go back. Test@mymadeira.com. If I send an email to test@mymadeira.com, it automatically goes out to all those people, 100, 2,000, it doesn't matter. If they reply, any one of those people reply, it comes back to Google here. Google says, who's all on this list? And then it sends it off to everyone else that needs to have it. So you don't have to worry about managing who's in the list. Whoever's in charge of this group here is going to be the one adding and removing names. All I have to remember is to send emails to test@, and then it will send it off to all those people. So that's the good part. So there's a communication system that's set up. It's quick and easy, and your end users only have to remember one email address. When I was more involved with the Google trainers and stuff, and I was helping manage, at the time, there was over 3,000 of us from all over the world using Google Groups to communicate about different topics, about different training opportunities, some tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. And it was great. I mean, 3,000 people. So you can get a lot of control out of that. The other thing, though, that people don't realize is if you set this up, this can be acting for your sharing that you do. So, for example, I'm going to go into my drive. I have a folder here called Shared Folder Sample. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to share this link here. Now, that group test@, let's say that's a big group here. I've got 300 people in that group. I want them all to have access to this folder. Am I going to add 300 names to this folder? I don't think so. But instead, I can, because they belong to that group, I can just do test@, and then what happens is, go away, test@, and then Google says, hey, I noticed that you created a group called this. Do you want all the members of that group, and it starts to list some of them here, to have access to this folder? And I go, that's who I want. So I just put in test. I'm going to make them view only. I can send a link to notify, but I'm not, because it's just not necessary for me. But I can send them a note, and guess what? They now have all access. They now all have access to that folder. So let's take a look at what happens on the other side. So I'm going to switch to a different account. I'm now in the Jazz account, and then you'll notice I'll be switching back and forth between accounts. If you do stuff like that a lot, check out profiles in Chrome. It allows you to log into all these different things as different windows. You don't have to do that switching accounts thing. You can actually have separate windows with bookmarks and links and everything, and it makes life easy when you're doing this kind of stuff. But let's go over to the groups here. Or groups? No, I'm not in groups. I'm in shared folders. Go away. Go away. I got this. Get on my face. Shared with me. So Jazz had this folder shared. Jazz can go in. I'm going to go into instructions here. I'm going to make some changes. Well, guess what? No, I'm not. You know why? Because I have to request access because I only have view access. So you remember how we had that set up? So now everything's set up so that those people can view all the folders that are in there. Now I'm back into my work account here. I'm going to go into here for a second. And I don't know if you can see that on my screen, but this folder here, I'm actually going to make this a little different. I'm going to go into here and I'm actually sharing that to that same group, but I'm going to give that group edit access. They can now go in and make whatever changes they want. Again, I'm just using that one email test ad. So back to Jazz here. Close this for a sec. I'm going to go into, man, Google just likes to have everything show up here. There's a document that Jazz worked on. You can see Jazz is the owner there. I'm going to make a copy of this, duplicate, make a copy. And because I have edit access to that folder and everything in it, I can go ahead and do that. Pretty easy to do. But let's say that Jazz is left. I don't need Jazz to be part of this group anymore. So, and Jazz might be attached to like 50 different folders, different projects or sub-projects or whatever. Jazz has been working with us for 10 years. There's lots of stuff that she's done, but she's going away. So she's not part of our volunteer group. She doesn't need to have access to those files. So I just have to go into this group here, hit members. There's Jazz, and I'm going to remove Jazz. Let's flip back. Remember this folder? It'll take a second or two, but I'm just going to force a quick refresh. I now need access. Ooh. So this is something that makes managing those groups really, really great. For me, I find, depending on what I'm doing, I'm willing to add 10 individuals to a folder or a file or a shared drive or anything like that. But the moment I go beyond 10, I'm creating a Google group. Especially if I'm going to be using them in more than one place. I want to make sure that I can quickly update and remove access to that. So I'm just going to go and add Jazz back in here again. And Jazz will be able to have access to the files. Now, I just showed you how you can use this with shared folders or shared drives. You can use it anywhere there's sharing. So if it's a single document, if it is sharing it within, come on, what was the word I was going to use, Trevor? Oh, Google Chat will work with that. If you're using it with any of those Google services where they ask you to share something with someone, you can use the group instead of individual members. So that'll save you a lot of time. So that's Google Groups for Businesses. One email address, you can make announcements. Yeah, you can also have your chat set up as either I'm making announcements and no one can reply, or I'm going to have group discussions where people can reply. Calendar, that was the other thing. So, and the shared management, you can use that with calendars, which is always important. I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Next thing I want to talk about is shared drive. A shared drive is this special folder that when people put their files into it, the organization owns it. So let me just show you what I mean real quickly. When I go into this working folder, do you see there's this Jazz and copy of Jazz? So this is a folder, your generic folder that we use all the time. You can see Jazz owns this. So let's say Jazz did this file here. Jazz worked for 10 years for us. She has collected a list of all these different contacts and volunteers and stuff. I'm just going to refresh this page and get back to where we were. But Jazz says, you know what? I'm leaving the organization. I don't need this anymore, so I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to delete this file and everything, all the other files. So I'm going to move it to the trash can. Okay. Now, Even though it was shared from a folder owned by Trevor, that file disappeared because the file itself is still owned by Jazz. It's kind of like a laptop. Just because I leave my laptop in your car doesn't make it your laptop. So shared drives are different. A shared drive says, hey, if that person goes in here and adds something, they do not keep ownership. So I've created a shared drive called demo. There's Jazz's working file. And let me just go over here. There's shared drives. Remember I said shared drives aren't available to personal accounts? What I meant was you can't create them, right? But you can be part of a team that someone else has created and you can still work within that. So here's this document, the working document. I got the two file, or sorry, my shared drives. Hang on a second. There, now I'm in a shared drive. There's the Jazz working file. I'm going to add a new file if I want in here. So I'll just add a new Google Doc real quick. And I'll call it blah, blah, because those are good names. And when I refresh this real quick, come on, there you are. There's the file. So this is in the demo drive. Notice the difference here. There's no ownership here. All right. And so if I select this and I go hit the information, I'll find out here who has access. So it shows right now these two. So the group test is an editor. So that's great. My group there. But look at the details here. Storage use is owned by Madeira Island. So this file is owned by Madeira Island. The creator, it says me because I'm in Jazz's account, but I'll just pop over here and do the same thing real quick. Whoops. File info, details. Same thing. Creator was Jazz Hayward. So Jazz created it. Jazz doesn't own it. And when I remove Jazz from the group, that file doesn't disappear. Jazz cannot delete it because I've set up the settings, sharing settings, so that they can only edit and stuff. And I'll just show you what that looks like really quick. When you add people into the group, you get some extra pieces of information here as far as sharing. So you have view, commenter, contributor. They can add files to the shared drive. They can edit the existing ones that are there. They can share files. They can't delete them. They can't move them. There's nothing worse than you setting up a folder structure and then someone else coming in and reorganize it to the way they think. So you can just say, look, the only thing you're doing here is working with these files. You're not in charge of how the folders are set up or anything else. So that allows you to set that up. So that's why these shared drives are so important, better control, and you keep ownership of the files. I can't stress that enough. All right. So shared drives is a great part of Google Drive of that. The other thing that's great for your organization is you can create templates for doc sheets and slides that are available just to your organization. So I'm going to go back. I worked at a university a long time ago, and I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to create a new document. Now, you see doc sheets and slides. Most people just click on this. There's an arrow here that gives you the choice, blank document, which is really the default, but from a template. All right, cool. So when you're on your personal account, you get this general tab here by default. You go in and you have all these different templates that Google has created for you. But as an organization, you can create templates that are only available to the organization. So here's a bunch of templates that have been created. I created this one, oh God, it's got to be at least 10 years ago. And this is your basic template that anyone in the institution would use if they're writing a letter. The logo's up there, so they don't have to worry about the logo. And there's nothing worse than someone coming in here and putting a logo in that's been stretched out because they scanned it wrong and whatever else. This way you control the logo. Notice I've got a heading 1 here. I'm going to do heading 2, heading 3. You control font sizes, colors, everything. So as part of the visual identity of your organization, you're ensuring that everything follows along in a way that works well and that is consistent throughout everything. So you can create all sorts of templates that are available to your organization. Whoops, that's not where we want to go. Go back to this page here. So that's the templates parts for Google Drive. Okay, we are at 30 minutes in. Let me just scan and see where I'm at. I'm doing okay. Google Docs. What's available in Google Docs? So some of this stuff is available in the public. So we got what's called smart chips. Smart chips are basically little links that link to different pieces of information. So to people, to files, to calendar events. So I'm just going to go into here. If I do an @ sign, you're going to get a menu here of what stuff can you throw in there. So I can put in a date. I can put a drop-down menu, stopwatch, all these different things in here. These actually work really well with the custom building blocks. So custom building blocks are basically like mini templates of text or whatever built right into here. So let me just do this. I'll open up a new document. So I've opened up a new tab. Here's a shortcut for you. If you type in doc.new, it'll automatically create a new Google Doc. I don't have to go into Google Drive, collect a doc, et cetera, et cetera. You probably see things like this showing up now, meeting notes, and see you got this little template set up here. These are those content blocks that we were talking about. So I'm going to throw in task tracker in here. Now I could just go into here and I have a task in here. I'm going to assign it to Jazz. And most people would do this. But if I do @Jazz, now Jazz is in my Google contacts. I hit that. If somewhere down the road I'm reviewing this and there's a question I want to contact Jazz, I just put my cursor over there and whatever information Google has about Jazz shows up. So I can quickly send an email. I can do a message like using Google Chat. Excuse me. I can start a video call with them, or sorry, send a video invite, and then a video call, or else I can schedule a calendar. So we're now just not having a name that we have to go somewhere else to look up. All that stuff is tied together. Date here is obviously enough. Makes it easier to throw a date in. I can throw in all these different pieces that are in there. Maybe I want a stopwatch because this is part of a meeting. So we're only going to spend another, let's say we're going to spend another, well, actually, let's see how long we're going to spend. It's a stopwatch on the countdown. So we'll see how long it's going to be. So there's all sorts of cool little things that they have available, and they keep adding more stuff in. So that's those smart chips. The content blocks, as I mentioned before, there's all sorts. You can also look under insert. There's all these different building blocks. You can also create your own. So for example, let's see if I've got one here. Where to go? I thought I made one here. I could create one. So let's say I use a piece of text all the time. So there's a piece of text as part of the instructions that I give people. I can create that piece of text and then save this here as a content block. So that's where the custom building blocks are. I can save that. Oh, actually I saved one here already called blah, blah. And guess what? There it is. Just so I have a piece of text, I can throw that in there. You can have something as simple as text like this. It can be more complicated. It could be this piece here. It could be replies that you constantly use. All that can be available inside these Google Docs. So take a look at those, go through, find out information about that, see how those can work to speed you up and make more consistency happen in what you're doing. Approvals. Oh, this is when I worked I used to work back in the days of printing and stuff, but still you would have a big document that would be as a Word document, and you send it off to somebody. They came back and said, here's the copies. It's all approved. It's ready to go. You would send that to the printer, or in this case, it might even be the web designers at this point. And then there's a typo. Now on a web page, you can quickly update. Back in the day, it was a printer. So now you're talking like money in there if it was a major mistake. And always would have people I worked with go, well, I didn't put that in. That wasn't there when I had it. So you can still run into that today. So what you want, here's the information we're going to release. Well, you shouldn't have included that when you released it. I didn't approve that. Yes, you did. So instead, there's actually under File a function here called Approvals. Where to go? Hang on. Oh, this isn't my document, so it won't work there. So let me go back here. This is the document I created. So Approvals. Basically, I'm going in and I'm going to put in people's emails in that. Now, these approvals, if I remember correctly, only work internally. Does it work externally? Oh, okay. That's great. So I can put in 3 names or 5 names. I can say here, approve it, give it a due date. they're all going to get emails saying, can you approve it? And there's actually a little link they click on that says, yes, I approve it. That gets stored here in this approval section. You can lock the file. You can say these approvers are allowed to edit, because maybe I work with a group, but it's my boss that's going to approve it. But I still don't want him editing it, so I might lock him out. But I can go ahead and put all those people in. I can lock it in case they do, or just so that no one else makes it. And now when you're done and someone says, well, that's not what I said, you can go back and say, yes, it is. There are other ways of doing that. I mean, I always tell people, go take a look at your history, your version history. You can go to a certain date and time and see what the document looked like. I've had that happen where people say, oh, I've never put that in. And I can go back in time and say, well, yeah, it's been there since day one. None of us ever noticed it. But approvals are just a nice way to get that stamp to say, yep, everything's good. Google Calendar. Oh, everyone loves the Google Calendar. All right. So when I get an account created for me, I get my calendar here. I can create other calendars. So as I mentioned before, maybe this test group event here, I want to have something for that test group, and I have all our meetings stored in there. And only when I go to share it, settings and sharing, when I share it, I am going to share it only with that test group. And I can control what they can do. They can only see the events. They can't make changes and stuff. So it's a private calendar for that group. I do this with a lot of boards. They have their own calendar, so we keep it private, but only they can access it and manage it just by adding names to that group there. One of the nice functions that Google has added is something called appointment slots, or appointment schedule now. Appointment schedule is basically a booking page. You know, where you say, I wish I had a page where someone could go book an appointment with it. That's what it is. And with your personal account, you get one of those. But here I can create multiple ones. So let me just show you what one looks like. If I was to go and create an appointment slot, I'm just going to pop over to one that exists already. And there's an open the booking page. And this is what the end user would see. So I can put this as a link in my signature when I send emails out. I can post it as a link for people to go in, and you can book an appointment. So you get a 50-minute appointment, 50. That gives me 10 minutes at the end to, get my notes together and stuff like that before the next appointment. But here you can see, all right, there's times available from 3 to 4. Wednesday's already taken, and 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. This will work with your calendar. And if I have already an existing appointment at 2 o'clock, it'll remove that. Now, where this really shines is you get multiple ones. So I actually, with this calendar here, let me go to weekly so you can see it. Where'd it go? Oh, go to today, that would help. Here we are. So I actually have set up and said, okay, I'm going to do technology training. So anyone wants any tech training, there it is between 1 and 5 on Tuesday afternoons. Or I can have an office hours. Come in and we'll talk about anything. And they can book an appointment there. I still have my other job, so I can, I'm still going to do work in there, whether I've just committed that these afternoons are available if someone wants to work with me. These ones are 50 minutes, as I mentioned. These ones are 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And these ones here being 30 minutes, they are in person only. These ones are either online or in person. I can choose what I want. So you can control what's accessible, what times are available to people, what we're going to do, how long we're going to do it. So take a look at that. Think about the different things that you have to go and say, is this available? Is this available? The other thing that you can do this for, the schedule, is you can make this schedule for rooms. Like you've got a meeting room. Okay, I can quickly go in, see what's available for a meeting room, or maybe a projector, or maybe a laptop. You can create different calendars for all that people internally only can book those things, or you can make it available to anyone to go in and book those items. So yeah, take a look. The scheduling, appointment schedules are really, really cool functions. Google Meets. Oh, we all love Google Meets. Okay. Let me just pull it up. So let me just start with this. When you use your personal account in Google, well, typically what you're going to get with Google Meets is you can get as a one-on-one video call, it will last 24 hours. All right. If it's one-on-one, you don't have to worry about that. The moment that you add another person in, we've gone from 2 people to 3, that's a group call. You get, I think on Google, you get an hour. If you use Zoom, I think it's 45 minutes. And, there might be a little bit of flexibility in there, but you basically get an hour and then you get kicked off. Then you got to join back in. With Google Meets, you can have a group of 100 people and it can last up to 24 hours. So you're not getting kicked off. So that's the number one reason to switch over and start using the Meets developed here in Google. You also get breakout rooms. Oh, let's take a look at that real quick. So I'm going to start Google Meet. I'm just going to go meet.new. This is one of the shortcuts that if you've looked at any of my other training that we talk about, but it just, rather than going to google.com and meet.google.com and create blah, 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 it just saves a couple steps. Sorry about this stuff here that's popping up. Just ignore it. But there's my video call. I'm keeping my camera off here because we don't need it. Thank you. And I'm going to go to this, the tools here. So they're the tools that come from Google. There's other tools available from other companies and organizations, but these are the ones that are built in. So you get breakout rooms. So I'm going to set up a breakout room. So let's say that we were going to do some training or whatever, and then we decided, you know what, let's have a discussion. We're going to create 3 groups or 2 groups and they take off. So from here, me as an administrator, because this is my meeting, I can create a number of groups in there. I can set a timer. We're going to break for 10 minutes. Everyone's going to go off. Normally, who's in the call would show up here. I can either manually drag them to the different groups, or I can just say shuffle. Go ahead, just throw people in groups. I don't care. I can give these groups names so that they have a theme. And then when I go and hit open the rooms, it basically is opening and creating new Google Meets, pushing people into those meetings. I, as an administrator, can jump in between the different meetings, so I can leave one, pop into the next one, et cetera, et cetera. And then if things are, wrapping up early, I don't want to wait the 30 minutes of the timer, I can close the rooms and everyone comes back to this main one. So they don't have to remember to come back here. It's done for them. So breakout rooms is a great tool that I think more people should make use of. We can do quick polls just to get an opinion. So just something that's posted in the chat. And then we've got a Q&A system. So Q&A is a little different than polls and chat. It's basically a little more controlled. There's somebody that has the power to answer the questions. So you as the audience do questions, myself and maybe a co-host who are knowledgeable will be providing the answers. I usually find for what I do for this kind of stuff, chat works well. But if I have 100 people in there, that chat can be blowing up. So it's like, okay, if you've got questions, do in the Q&A. If you've got chat and you just want to like blah, 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 how's it going? What's the weather like in California? You go ahead and do that in the chat. So those are some nice extra functions that you get available to Google Meets with your account. Oh, the other cool thing, and I use this a lot, sometimes your audio is out, right? I can't hear you. You can't hear me, whatever. So instead of restarting your computer, you can actually say, hey, I want to phone in. So I can actually have a local phone number that I can take on my phone, dial it in, and all my audio and speaker and microphone is coming through my phone here. I can continue on with the meeting without having to restart and stuff. And I use that, I don't use it a lot, but I have used that at times because I don't want to restart my computer, especially if I'm hosting it. I don't want to restart it. That's downtime. So I just go in, just do the audio. Quite frankly, a lot of times I'll also turn on subtitles. So there is a link for subtitles. I can't remember where it is right now. It looks like they moved it. Where'd it go? Well, oh, it got tied into this other app that I'm using. So you can turn subtitles on and follow through with that as well. But that audio call is really handy. Even if they don't want to be like watch, they're driving, I just want to listen, you can use that audio piece as well. All right, we have 15 minutes left, so I'm just going to briefly talk about some of the AI stuff going, and we're not doing demos or anything like that, really. But just so you know, when you're using the Gemini in your nonprofit, any kind of information that you submit, any of that stuff is private, it's secure, it's within your workspace, okay? So it's not being used for training, it's not going to be seen by any other human eyes, it's just your area. So if you have sensitive information, according to Google's privacy stuff, you are okay, right? You've basically done your due diligence. Google says, if you look at privacy statements that Google has, basically it comes down to your info is your info and we're not going to access it. That's important. And Gemini has got some really great functions. I'm just going to show you one that I use. Where is it here? So if you have, give me a second. Dun, 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 dun. If there is an extension for Google Meets that allows you to capture transcripts. So all the subtitles and stuff like that, it'll capture that into a document. I can then upload that into, well, this is Notebook, not Gemini. Sorry, come back to this in a second then. So Gemini is different. Yeah, so basically Gemini, you can go in. The nice thing with Gemini, what you can do is, so here's Gemini opening up. I can hit the plus sign here. I can upload a file, but I can also just add a file from Drive. Okay, so I don't need to do the download to my computer, then upload it. I don't need to worry about it converting a Word document to anything. I can add a file right from my Drive and it'll go through and do what you need it to do. So you can work with those files that way. Notebook LM is a little different than Gemini, does a lot of the same stuff, but basically what Notebook says is instead of using the whole internet as your resource library, we are just going to work with whatever you load up. We are not going to go looking outside. So it's analyzing your own sources, your PDFs. You know, if I put in a YouTube video, that of course that's public, but that's fine because I'm the one controlling what is going to be my resource library that this AI is going to be pulling from. And now I'm going to show you what I wanted to show you, which was, whoop, wrong instance. So Ramu is the organization, one of the organizations that I'm on a board of. So what we've done is I take all the agendas and the minutes and I add them into the library. You can add up to 50 different items into here. I could, if I had transcripts from a meeting, so the capturing of that, I could add that into there as well. What's cool now is it's got all this as my resource library. I can go in there and ask questions. So I can go in and say, well, let me hang on a second. What was the question I had? Okay, sure. How many online events have we done? So it's going to go through, and instead of my searching through all these documents, it will go through and search the documents. So give me a sec here. Oh, never saw three little dots moving around so entertaining before. The tension builds. There it is. So it's gone through all my documents and it says, okay, here we are. We've got this travel presentation that I did back in May. We have one Iceland presentation in November. Kathy is one of our members that was in the Canadian Bake Off show, April, and the St. Patrick's Day party. So I didn't have to go searching for it. Google did that with Notebook LM. And that's just one of the things that you can do with Notebook LM. I've talked about it a bit about it in my digital session. So if you want to review that again or just play. But again, all that information stays right here and it stays within the context of this organization. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this session. The resources that I would suggest for you is these ones here. So Google Workspace Learning Center is something that Google has. Basically, you can go in and ask questions or like, how do I do ABC, right? So there's information here, how to learn about a product. I think the productivity tips section and the business tutorials are really good. So with that, if you look through, there's all sorts of different things that'll help you how to brainstorm with your colleagues. It'll show you the different apps you can use. Some of them you may not be aware of. Plan and holding meetings everywhere. This one is one I really love for people to look at. So does it show me here? Usually it shows you which tools they're going to use. Plan and hold your meetings. So plan the agenda, schedule it, breaks it down. So we're going to create a meeting agenda. We're going to use it in Google. Whoops, I'm back here. We're going to use Google Docs for this. Then it takes you through the steps, then how to share that stuff. So it plans, or sorry, it gives you information for people how to go through step by step, app by app, what you need to do to create that. Take a look how to create events, not just scheduling a meeting, but how to do an event. There's tutorials on that. Definitely worth the time to explore that. Okay, that's it. I'm going to ask if anyone has any questions that you want to do while we're still on the camera. And if not, then I will stop it there. Okay, there's no questions. So I'm going to stop the recording right now, and then we can chat about what goes on after that.